Welcome to Madhu's Online Academy. In this class, I am going to discuss about some of the questions from Indian history sources. So in this video, I am going to explain only 6 questions, and these same six questions will be also available in Telugu medium. So that is also uploaded along with this English medium question paper. Okay, so the first question. So consider the following. Statement 1. Ibn Battuta was a traveler from Morocco who paid his visit to India in 14th century AD. So that is the statement. So the given statement here is absolutely right. The given statement here is right. Ibn Battuta was a traveler from Morocco who paid his visit to India in 14th century. Exactly, remember, in the year 1333 AD, Ibn Battuta paid his visit to India. Particularly at that time, he paid his visit to Delhi. At that time, Delhi Sultan was Muhammad bin Tughlaq. At that time, Delhi Sultan was Muhammad bin Tughlaq, remember, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So his reign was, his tenure was he ruled from 1325 to 1351, remember this, okay. So exactly in the year 1333 AD, Ibn Battuta paid his visit to India, remember. So actually Ibn Battuta, he was born in 1304. So at the age of 29 years, he paid his visit to India, remember, and then he visited the Delhi. Then Delhi was ruling by Tughlaq dynasty Sultan called Muhammad bin Tughlaq, who ruled from 1325 to 51. Next, so the given first statement is absolutely right. So next, coming to Banabhatta wrote Arshacharita. So this is also right statement, remember. So Prithviraj Raso was written by Hemachandra. The given statement here is wrong. Next, Ashtadhyayi was written by Patanjali. This is also wrong. So Ashtadhyayi is a book on Sanskrit grammar. Absolutely right. So here choose correct statements from the above and select correct answer from the quotes given below. So in the given statements, 1 is right, 2 also right, 5 also right. So here answer is 1, 2, 5. So answer 3 is the right for this question number 1. So now I will explain some more details about the statements. Just now, as I explained about Ibn Battuta, who was a traveler from Morocco who paid his visit to India, and he also wrote a book called Kitab-ul-Rihla. The book Kitab-ul-Rihla, or sometimes we call it as Rahla. So it was authored by our Ibn Battuta. Next, Banabhatta wrote Arshacharita. So absolutely right. So actually Banabhatta was one of the court poets of Harshavardhana, remember. So here he wrote a book called Arshacharita in Sanskrit language. This deals with the biography of Harsha. So biography means life history of Harshavardhana. Biography of Harshavardhana, remember, right. Next, Banabhatta also wrote Kadambari and Parvati Parinai. Banabhatta, apart from Arshacharita, he also wrote Kadambari and Parvati Parinai books. Next, Prithviraj, third statement. Prithviraj Raso was written by Hemachandra. As I said, wrong statement. Actually, Prithviraj Raso was written by Chand Bardai. Chand Bardai, remember. So it deals with the history of Prithviraj Chauhan the third. Prithviraj Chauhan the third. Okay. So Prithviraj Chauhan, as we know very well that in the medieval Indian history, Prithviraj Chauhan was one of the important greatest Rajput rulers of medieval India. So he was also greatest ruler of Chauhan dynasty. These Chauhans or Chauhamanas ruled Ajmer, Delhi regions, remember, right? So he was also the greatest ruler of Chauhamana dynasty or Chauhan dynasty. Prithviraj Chauhan III, remember. Next, Ashtadhyayi was written by Patanjali, wrong statement. So actually Ashtadhyayi was written by, not by Patanjali, but by Panini. Written by whom? Panini. So written by Panini in which language? Sanskrit language. Sanskrit language, remember. So Ashtadhyayi was authored by or written by Panini in Sanskrit language actually. So it was a book on Sanskrit grammar. So fifth statement also right. So right answer is 3 as I told you. Next we will move on to the next question. Here question number 2. Which of the following are known as Buddhist chronicles of Ceylon? Ceylon means, remember, Ceylon means, remember, Sri Lanka, the present Sri Lanka, remember, Sri Lanka, right. So here number 1, that is Deepavamsha and Mahavamsha. Next, number 2, Buddhist Dharma and Khadavattu. Number 3, Mahavibhasha Shastra and Parisista Parvan. Fourth one, Mahavamsha and Ashtadhyayi. So tell me the right answer for question number 2. Which one is the right? 1 or 2 or 3 or 4? So the right answer is Deepavamsha and Mahavamsha. So here remember very carefully, Deepavamsha, Mahavamsha are to be considered as the holy books of Ceylon or Sri Lanka. So particularly these are the Buddhist chronicles of Ceylon country, remember. So these Deepavamsha, Mahavamsha also deals with Mauryan Empire, remember. They are telling about the conditions of the South India. So these Deepavamsha, Mahavamsha also deals with the conditions of Mauryan period as well, Shunga period. As we know very well that, so Mauryas, after Maurya dynasty, so Mauryan Empire, so they were succeeded by whom? Shungas. And Shungas succeeded by whom finally? Kanvas, right. So particularly these Deepavamsha, Mahavamsha books, whom we are treating as the Ceylonese Buddhist chronicles, also giving information about Mauryas as well Shungas. Particularly, as I earlier told you in my previous classes that according to these Ceylonese chronicles, Ashoka, remember, Ashoka or Asoka assassinated his 99 brothers. Assassinated his 99 brothers, including his eldest brother Susima or Sumana, remember. So where this information is provided? Susima or Sumana, including his eldest brother Susima and Sumana, he killed his 99 brothers in the War of Succession. Later, Ashoka ascended to the throne. So this information is also there in this so-called Buddhist chronicles of Ceylon, namely Deepavamsha and Mahavamsha, remember. Next here Khadavattu, one of the Buddhist scripture. Next Mahavibhasha Shastra authored by Vasumitra, and Parisista Parvan was authored by Hemachandra, who was a Jain poet, Jain scholar. So this deals with Chandragupta Maurya period, Mauryan Empire. So how Chandragupta Maurya ascended to the throne. So such type of particulars are provided or furnished in this book called Parisista Parvan, written by whom? Hemachandra, remember. Next, Mahavamsha and Ashtadhyayi. Already I told you, Ashtadhyayi authored by, just now as I told you, Ashtadhyayi was authored by Panini, and a commentary was also written on this Ashtadhyayi by Patanjali. Its name is Mahabhashya. Mahabhashya is nothing but a commentary on Ashtadhyaya, which was authored by Patanjali, remember. Whereas Panini wrote in this, Ashtadhyayi, right. So what is the answer for this? As I told you just now, number 1, Deepavamsha and Mahavamsha are to be considered as the Buddhist Ceylonese chronicles. Next, and also question number 3, Rajatarangini, which deals with the history of Kashmir, was authored by, once again I am reading the question, Rajatarangini, which deals with the history of Kashmir, was authored by whom? Who is the author of Rajatarangini? So number 1, Kalhana, number 2, Dignaga, Number 3, Rajashekara. Number 4, Hemachandra, remember. So here the right answer for the question number 3 is, I think many of you know that this is, Kalhana. The right answer is Kalhana. So Rajatarangini, remember, it deals with the history of Kashmir. History of Kashmir. So particularly, Kashmir was ruled by, it deals with the dynasties which ruled Kashmir. Namely, Karkotaka dynasty, Utpala dynasty, Lohar dynasty, Shah Mir dynasties. All these dynasties ruled Kashmir, remember. So for example, Lalitaditya Muktapida, Avanti Varma, as well, there are many others, great rulers ruled this so-called, Kashmir. So our Rajatarangini deals with the, history of the dynasties which ruled Kashmir, remember. So it was written in Sanskrit language by Kalhana. It is also to be considered as the historical book in India, remember. It was written in Sanskrit language by the author Kalhana, remember, Kalhana. Next, Dignaga was a great scholar and right. Next, Rajashekar also scholar, Hemachandra also scholar. Just now as I told you about Hemachandra, who was a Jain scholar who wrote Parisista Parvan, and also Kumarapala Charita, Neminada Charita, Trisasti Shalaka Purusha, remember. Trisasti Shalaka Purusha means 3 means 3, Shashti means 60, Shalaka Purusha means Uttama Purushas. So he wrote about the biographies of 63 Jain saints, Jain sannyasis, Jain saints. So in which book? Trishashti Shalaka Purusha, Kumarapala Charita, Neminada Charita, as well, just now as I told you, Parisista Parvan, all these written by our Hemachandra, who was a Jain scholar, remember. Next, so question number 3 answer is 1. Next question, that is, match the following list 1 with list 2 and select answer from the quotes given below. I have not given quotes, yeah. Okay, here list 1, list 2. Okay, I'll try to match. The Guide to Geography, A. So it was written by whom? The Guide to Geography was written by, this Ptolemy. So A4, remember. So next, the Histories was written by, the book written by whom? Herodotus. Periples of the Erythraean Sea was authored by an unknown author. It was written by an unknown author. So 2. Next, Indica was authored by, remember, Megasthenes. So 3, right. So the Guide to Geography was authored by, remember, the Guide to Geography was authored by Ptolemy. So A4. The Histories, the book Histories was authored by Herodotus, who is also known as, remember, father of history, who was born at Halicarnassus in Greek. Remember. So next, Periples of the Erythraean Sea was authored by an unknown author, remember. So actually, he was a sailor. So he provided accurate information in his book, The Periples. Simply, we call it in short form, we call it as The Periples. Our full name of this book is, Periples of the Erythraean Sea. Okay. So in this book, he is giving information about the seaports in of India, as well trade centers in India, and which type of goods were exported from India to the Europe, as well which type of goods were imported and exported from India to Europe and Europe to India, vice versa. So such type of accurate information provided by this unknown author in his so-called book, the great book, The Periples of the Erythraean Sea, but deliberately he might have not mentioned his name, remember. The Periples or The Periples of the Erythraean Sea was authored by unknown sailor, unknown author, remember. So here C, for C answer, right answer is 2. Next, D, Indica was authored by Megasthenes. Indica was authored by whom? Megasthenes, remember, Indica was authored by Megasthenes III. So, Indica, authored by Megasthenes. Who is Megasthenes? Let us discuss some other details about the significance of Megasthenes. Megasthenes was appointed as ambassador by his master, his king Seleucus Nicator. Seleucus Nicator, who was a Greek Syrian king, he appointed him as his ambassador in the court of Chandragupta Maurya. He was the founder of Chandragupta Maurya, was the founder of Mauryan Empire, remember. Actually, in and around 305-304 BC, a battle took place between Chandragupta Maurya and, his Greek Syrian counterpart Seleucus Nicator. Seleucus Nicator, remember. So, what happened in this battle, So, Seleucus Nicator was defeated at the hands of our CGM, that is Chandragupta Maurya. Later, Seleucus Nicator handed over, Kabul, Kandahar, Herat and Baluchistan to whom? Our Chandragupta Maurya. So, Chandragupta Maurya emerged as victorious in the battle with, whom? His Greek Syrian counterpart Seleucus Nicator. After that, Seleucus Nicator, handed over Kabul, Kandahar, Herat, Baluchistan to our Chandragupta Maurya. And apart from also, there is saying that, scholars saying that he also offered his daughter, Helena to Chandragupta Maurya in marriage. Right. Okay, Chandragupta Maurya, according to the scholars' information, that Helena was married by Chandragupta Maurya, who was daughter of Seleucus Nicator. And apart from that, he also handed over the said places, namely Kabul, Kandahar, Herat and Baluchistan, remember. So, and as well, so in order to establish good rapport, okay, between, CGM, that is Chandragupta Maurya Empire, that is Mauryan Empire, and him, he sent, Megasthenes as his ambassador to the court of Chandragupta Maurya, remember. So, this Megasthenes, whatever he had seen, whatever he had heard, so he tried to, wrote a book, insert all those things in a book called Indica, which was written in Greek language. Indica was written in Greek language, remember. So, actually, original Indica is unavailable now, not available. So, in the latter course of time, many scholars, based on the, content of Indica, they are providing much information about the Mauryan Empire, like, Arrian, okay, Aristobulus, Nearchus, Clitarchus, Ptolemy, Strabo. So, all these, scholars in the latter course of time, they try to quote the things from, information from which book? Original Indica. But original Indica is unavailable now. Original Indica was authored by whom? Our Megasthenes, remember. Next. So, what is the answer? Guide to Geography, as I told you, Ptolemy. History is written by Herodotus, father of history. Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, authored by an unknown author. And Indica was authored by Megasthenes, right? Next one. So, question number 5. Match the following list 1 with list 2. Right. List 1, list 2. Kitab ul Rehla. Next. Folk-Woki, Parishishta Parvan, and Taukwik-i-Hind. So, this list 2 side. Hemachandra 1, Hemachandra 2, Al-Biruni 3, Ibn Battuta 4, Huansang 5, Fayan. So, here the right answer for question number A is A. I'll write the options here first. Yeah. So, A. Kitab ul Rehla. Kitab ul Rehla was authored by Ibn Battuta. So, A3. So, as I told you just now, Ibn Battuta paid his visit to India, particularly visited India or Delhi in the year 1333 AD. So, at that time, the Delhi Sultan was just now, as I told you while I am explaining about the question today. So, 1333, at that time, the Delhi Sultan was Tughlaq dynasty Sultan. His name was Muhammad bin Tughlaq, right? He wrote a book called Kitab ul Rehla, right? So, he was from Morocco, Africa, right? So, next one, Folk-Woki was authored by Fayan, okay, right. So, here, remember B5. So as we know very well that the author of Fokoki, that is our Payan, so paid his visit to India during the time of Chandragupta II or Chandragupta Vikramaditya. Chandragupta Vikramaditya. Chandragupta II or Chandragupta II or Chandragupta Vikramaditya, remember. Okay. So actually remember here, so his tenure 399 to 411 or sometimes 414 also. In some books it is mentioned as 414. So around 12 years or 15 years our Payan stayed in India. Actually Payan was a Buddhist, Chinese Buddhist pilgrim who paid his visit to India during the tenure of rule of Chandragupta II or Chandragupta Vikramaditya, and wrote a book called Fokoki in Chinese language. So whatever he had seen, whatever he had visited in India, he was trying to incorporate all those things in his so-called book. This is Fokoki, remember. So next one, third one, see, Parishishta Parvan. Parishishta Parvan was authored by Hemachandra. Parishishta Parvan was authored by whom? Hemachandra. So just now as I told you, Parishishta Parvan, so in which he wrote about, Chandragupta Maurya. He wrote about whom? Chandragupta Maurya and the conditions of the Mauryan period in particular. So apart from, this Parishishta Parvan, he also wrote Neminada Charita, Kumarapala Charita, as well Trisashti Shalaka Purusha and so on. Hemachandra was a Jain scholar, remember, Jain scholar. Next. So C1. Next, Taukuki Hind was authored by, here, very, very important, Al-Biruni. So, I want to give more details, I want to add more details about Al-Biruni or about this book. Taukuki Hind, also known as, the other name of this book is, Kitab-ul-Hind. Kitab-ul-Hind, remember, Kitab-ul-Hind, other name. So, it reflects the as it is conditions which were existed in 11th century AD India. So, okay. So, in 11th century AD India, which type of different conditions were existing, prevailing? The same conditions he was trying to incorporate in his book entitled as Taukuki Hind, otherwise called as, Kitab-ul-Hind, remember. Okay. So, because there was no interpretation by him in that book. Okay. The content was not corrupted. Remember. So, what type of accurate conditions were existing in 11th century AD Indian society? Such type of same conditions were, written or mentioned, highlighted by our, the author, our Al-Biruni. So, actually, Al-Biruni, remember, coming to the significance of Al-Biruni here, actually, Al-Biruni was in the court of Muhammad Ghazni of Ghazni. Actually, he belongs to Central Asia, a place called Biwa or Khwarazm. So, when Muhammad Ghazni attacked on that place and occupied that area, so Al-Biruni was one of the prisoners of that area, from that area. So, after knowing about the scholarship, after knowing about the knowledge of Al-Biruni, so Muhammad Ghazni, so being a ruler of Ghazni, he decided to free Al-Biruni, released him from jail. So, then, requested him to stay in his court. So, this Al-Biruni, with the prior permission of his master Muhammad Ghazni, he also paid his visit to India in the early 11th century AD. As we know very well that Muhammad Ghazni, remember, had registered his around 17 attacks against India, in which many times he plundered huge amount of wealth from India. He also destroyed many Hindu temples, remember. Okay, so that was the story about Muhammad Ghazni. Of course, we will look some more about other details of Muhammad Ghazni as a part of our topic of Muhammad Ghazni or Muslim invasions on India in medieval India. Remember. Okay, so here Al-Biruni was in the court of Muhammad Ghazni. So Al-Biruni was a tremendous scholar, very ethical Musalman, moral Musalman. Remember, why means he had good scholarship with him. So he was a geographer, he was a historian. He was a physician, he was an astrologer, he was an astronomer, he was a mathematician, whatnot, everything. So that's why there is saying about Al-Biruni. So he was a jack of all and master of all. Jack of all and master of all. So he was possessing that much great scholarship, remember, means knowledge or intelligentsia, whatever you call, right? So this is all about Al-Biruni. So because of the significance of the content of this book, Tawfiq-i-Hind, in the latter course of time, Tawfiq-i-Hind got translated into English by Edward C. Sachew, an European, so called Edward C. Sachew, translated Tawfiq-i-Hind or Kitabul-Hind book into English language, remember, and entitled it as Al-Biruni's India. Remember, very, very important. Al-Biruni's India. Al-Biruni's India. Why the Europeans particularly translated many books into their English or other European languages? Mean just to study and understand about the culture and society of India at large. Because in modern India, what was happened? Europeans came to India. Finally, among all them, Britishers emerged as victorious, and also they established an empire that is called British Indian Empire in India. So that's why, so they wanted to establish their dominance over our Indian society and culture. So that's why they ordered to translate all the great, books of India into English and other European languages. This is the purpose behind this translation. Remember, not only Tawfiq-i-Hind, many other books like the famous Sanskrit drama Malavikagna-mitra, authored by Kalidasa, and the Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda, Upanishads, Ramayana, Mahabharata, all these books got translated into English and other European languages. Why? Means to just to study and understand about our culture and society of India at large. So if they understood at the moment they understood the Indian culture and society at large, so it enabled them to plan how to establish their sway, their power over us means Indians. So that is the purpose behind it. And also at the same time they try to copy the knowledge from us. For example, many mathematical books, astronomical books, astrological books, medicinal books, all these tremendous books, got translated into English from the original Sanskrit language of India, remember, okay, right. So this is the significance of Tawfiq-i-Hind or Kitabul-Hind, right. So what is the answer for the question number 5? So here, A3, B5, C1, D2, right. We are moving on to the next question, the last question, that is, consider the following, right. So Gada Saptasati tells about the social conditions of Shatavahana period, right or wrong? Absolutely right. So next, Prithviraj Raso tells about Prithviraj Chauhan III. Mudra Rakshasa was written by Hemachandra. Anguttara Nikaya mentions about Shodasa Mahajanapadas. Iranian inscription mentions about the practice of sati. So I'll explain. So which one is right here? So Gada Saptasati, right. Next, coming to here, Gada Saptasati, right statement. Apart from that, Prithviraj Raso tells about Prithviraj Chauhan III. Absolutely right. Next, Mudra Rakshasa was authored by Hemachandra. This is absolutely wrong. Next, Anguttara Nikaya mentions about Shodasa Mahajanapadas, right. Iranian inscription mentions about the practice of sati, right. So here, choose incorrect statement. Statement here, actually considered as statement or statements. Yeah. Statement or statements from the above and select correct answer from the codes given below. So what is the here incorrect statement? So only 3. Where is the 3? In 2. Yeah. So this is the answer. So all the 4, statement 1, 2, 4, 5, are right. The given statements, 1, 2, 4, 5 are right, except 3. So answer is 3 only, right. So I'll give explanation about this question. Yeah. Gada Saptasati. Gada means story, remember, story. Next, Sapta means 7. Sati means 100, Sati, yeah. So a Gada Saptasati book consisting about the 700 Gadas, Kathas means stories. So the main subject matter of this book is romanticism. So because its author Hala liked the subject romanticism very much, remember. Hala, who is Hala? Hala was the 17th, Shatavahana king, Shatavahana ruler. So according to Puranas, according to Matsya Purana, Vishnu Purana, Vayu Purana, Bhagavata Purana, Brahmanda Puranas, Hala was Hala to be considered as the 17th king. Not only was a king but also poet. He was not only a king but also poet. who wrote a book called Gada Saptashati in Paishashi Prakrit language. Remember, he wrote this book in which language? Paishashi Prakrit language. Remember, Paishashi Prakrit language. Okay. So Paishashi Prakrit language, remember. So Paishashi was a dialect of Prakrit language. So he wrote this book in Paishashi Prakrit language. He was a 17th Shatavahana ruler, and also he was also a poet, and in which he tells about the he wrote about the social conditions of Shatavahana period in particular, and also in this, he wrote about he mentioned many poets, scholars names, namely poets and poetesses both. So for example, Sri Palita, Ambalakshmi, Madhavi, Ambalakshmi or Andhra Lakshmi, Sri Palita, Madhavi, Ambalakshmi or Andhra Lakshmi, Reva, Chulluva, Makaranda Sena. So like these names, poets and poetesses names of the period were mentioned by the author in his so-called book Gada Saptashati, remember. So, and also remember that, generally it deals with how, it deals with the traditions of the women of South India of Shatavahana period. For example, for instance, I'll tell you, so women used to wear bangles, okay. So this was the tradition of, South India or Dakshinapada that is mentioned in this book. And also before taking bath, generally women apply, turmeric to their body. So this is also tradition of South India. So such type of many, things, much subject is mentioned about the woman, society, and the poets of scholars of, Shatavahana period by the author Hala in his book Gada Saptashati. And the first time the word, Telugu words also mentioned in this book. What are they? So Atta, Andam, Addam, Potta, Chekka. So this type of Telugu words first time mentioned by the author in his book Gada Saptashati, remember. Coming to the second statement, Prudhara Raso, written by Chand Bardai. It was authored by Chand Bardai. So actually the author mentioned or wrote about the biography of, the heroic person of medieval India, Prudhara Chauhan, who was a very great, ruler of, Chauhamanas are, right. So Chauhans are Chauhamanas. So Chauhans are Chauhamanas. Okay. So he was the greatest ruler of the, Chauhamanas or Chauhans, remember. Okay. Prudhara Chauhan III was the greatest ruler of Chauhan dynasty or Chauhamana dynasty. So Prudhara Chauhan or Chauhan dynasty ruled, Ajmer, Delhi areas. And in that Chauhan dynasty, our Prudhara Chauhan III was the tremendous, very greatest ruler, remember. So once, in the year 1191, so the battle of Staneshwar or the battle of Tharain took place between, so his counterpart Muhammad Ghori of Ghor and also himself. So in which he defeated Muhammad Ghori. And later in the next year, that was in 1192, so in the second battle of Tharain or second battle of Staneshwar, so our Prudhara Chauhan III was defeated by Muhammad Ghori of Ghor, remember, right? So next, Mudra Rakshasa was authored by here, not this Hemachandra, but it was written by, remember, Vishakadatta. Actually, Vishakadatta not only wrote Mudra Rakshasa, but also Devi Chandragupta was also authored by him. Devi Chandragupta. In the book itself, there is a Gupta. So that's why remember easily, Devi Chandragupta belongs to Gupta period, and also here Mudra Rakshasa, the book starts with M letter. That's why this Mudra Rakshasa deals with Mauryan Empire, Mauryan area, Mauryan period, remember. So author Vishakhadatta wrote 2 books mainly. These were the 2 Sanskrit dramas. One is Mudra Rakshasa, deals with Mauryas, because the book Mudra Rakshasa deals with starts with M. That's why you remember here easily as Mauryas. It is about Mauryas. And here next book Devi Chandragupta. So it deals with the Gupta period. In this way you need to remember these were the 2 Sanskrit dramas authored by the author Vishakhadatta, but not by Hemachandra. Remember that. So Anguttara Nikaya, remember. So mentions about Shodasa Mahajanapadas, remember. So what are the Shodasa Mahajanapadas here? Remember, Shodasa means 16 Mahajanapadas. So by the 6th century BCE, what was happened in ancient India? 16 Mahajanapadas, came into existence. So what are they? Anga, Avanti, Asmaka, Gandhara, Chedi, Panchala, Shurasena, Vajji, Vatsa, Malla, Matsya, Magadha, Kashi, Kuru, Kosala, Kambhoja Mahajanapadas. Okay? So Anga Mahajanapada, Avanti Mahajanapada, Asmaka Mahajanapada, Chedi Mahajanapada, Gandhara Mahajanapada, Panchala Mahajanapada, Vajji Mahajanapada, Vatsya Mahajanapada, Vatsa Mahajanapada. As well, Kashi Mahajanapada, Kuru Mahajanapada, Kosala Mahajanapada, Kamboja Mahajanapada, Matsya Mahajanapada, Magadha Mahajanapada. So like this, remember 16 Mahajanapadas were existed by 6th century BCE in ancient India. So here, what are the Shodasa means 16 Mahajanapadas. What are they? I will repeat once again. Anga, Avanti, Asmaka, Chedi, Shurasena, Gandhara, Panchala, Vajji, Vatsa, Malla, Matsya, Magadha, Kashi, Kuru, Kosala, Kambhoja Mahajanapadas. So where these names of these Mahajanapadas mentioned? Anguttara Nikaya, which is one of the Buddhist literature book. So here Anguttara Nikaya was a part of Tripitakas, particularly Sutta Pitaka, remember. So it was a part of which book? Sutta Pitaka. Sutta Pitaka, remember. So Sutta Pitaka was one of the part of Tripitakas. What are the Tripitakas? Tripitakas are the holy books, sacred books of Buddhism. So what are they 3? So here Vinaya Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka and Abhidhamma Pitaka. Vinaya, Sutta and Abhidhamma Pitakas are together known as Tripitakas. 3 Pitakas, 3 baskets of Dhamma of Buddhism. So out of 3, so this Anguttara Nikaya was part of this Sutta Pitaka, remember. So Sutta Pitaka particularly consisting of important 5 segments, namely Anguttara Nikaya, Samyuttara Nikaya, Kudaka Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Digha Nikaya. Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Samyuttara Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, Digha Nikaya. Kudaka, Anguttara, Samyuttara, Majjhima, Digha Nikaya. So these are the 5 parts of Sutta Pitaka, remember. Okay, very important in the examination point of view. For examination point of view. Next, last one. Iran inscription mentions about practice of right. Absolutely right. So actually Iran inscription, this was set up by Bhanugupta of Gupta period, dated 510 AD. So belongs to 6th century AD, remember. So first time, this is the one and only inscriptional source where first time the practice of sati is mentioned. So coming to the significance of sati in the Indian history context, so if we go back to Indus Valley civilization or Harappan civilization, so there was a place, in many places, many findings were discovered. So for example, coming to Lothal here, double burial, twin burial was discovered in the archaeological excavations, remember. So in this, both, male and female skeletons were found in one graveyard. So according to the scholars' opinion, that might be the practice of sati. That is one instance of ancient India, which speaks about the practice of sati. And coming to the ancient India of Gupta period, the Bhanuguptas, Iran inscription dated 510 AD also first time mentioned about the practice of sati in this inscription, right? Next, coming to modern India, as we know very well, in the year 1829, then the Lord William Bentinck government, Lord William Bentinck government, remember, Bentinck government had abolished the practice of sati with the help of great Indian social reformer Raja Rama Mohan Rai. Remember this carefully. Okay, so with the great efforts of Bengal or Indian social reformer, greatest scholar, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, social worker, so with the help of him, in the year 1829, then the British Indian government, at that time the British India Governor General was Lord William Bentinck, abolished the practice of sati. Okay, so this is all about, this is how you need to read. So while I am discussing about the practice of sati, so where Iranian that is mentioned on Iranian inscription of Bhanugupta dated 510 AD. Apart from that, I also try to link the particularly double burial or twin burial which was discovered at Lothal of Indus Valley civilization. And coming to the modern India, already I have discussed about the abolition of the practice of sati by the British government, British Indian government. So this is all for today in this Indian history paper 1 discussion. So next, okay, this is all for today. Like this video as well, share this video to your friends and also leave a comment. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Do like.